Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network, on what is, I'm sure, a very special, joyous day for Giant fans, and they haven't had a whole lot of these for a very, very long time. Let's be honest, okay? Excuse me a second. We haven't had a lot of those at all. Now, while we do not have official word from the Giants, what we do know, and what I have ascertained to my satisfaction, is that Harbaugh is coming. He has canceled his meeting with Tennessee. Tennessee and Atlanta were the other threats, is my understanding. But I have a mutual friend, a close friend of mine who was close friends with Harbaugh. Tennessee was a real threat. Lifestyle was a big issue, and he liked Cam Ward. Atlanta didn't have a quarterback. That was the big problem. Atlanta, if they had a quarterback, would have been a big threat. He wanted a quarterback. He did not want a quarterback headache. He wanted a quarterback solution. That was very important to him. He also, from what I understand, was very taken by the Giant heritage, which I thought he would be. And the Giants put on the full court press, and let's be honest, they did it right. So give John Mara and Chris Mara and Steve Tisch and everybody else who was involved credit. They got the job done. They landed the big fish. And now the Giants are no longer in this wasteland that they have been in since the day they got rid of Tom Coughlin, and it was a very unhappy day for Tom Coughlin. And I have admitted to Tom that I was wrong. I thought during the third year, hey, if Tom can't win in the third year, it's reasonable to change coaches. He had been there 12 years. Okay. It was an out and out mistake. That year, the Giants were 5-4. They lost 6 of 7 down the stretch. They scored like 420 points that year. They had a lot of big injuries down the stretch. They lost a 1-pointer to New England. They lost a 3-pointer to Carolina. They lost an overtime game. They lost some heartbreaking games. They lost 6 of their last 7. They went 6-10, and they fired him. And he was crushed that they fired him. Crushed. And you know what? It crushed the franchise for a decade. More, 12 years. And now the 12 years through all the coaches, the 12 years through all the mistakes, the 12 years through all the losing is now over. I mean, 55-109 since Tom left. That's not counting postseason. That's a lot of losing. That is all over now. You have the quarterback, you have Scatterboo, you have Neighbors, you have some pass rushes, you have a lot of guys that you needed. You need a lot of people on the roster to get better. You need a lot of people on the roster to be bringing veteran guys, draft right, utilize the cap money correctly, and bring in free agents. They got a lot of work to do. They're not a good team yet, but they have the young quarterback. They have some playmakers, and now they have the legitimate top line coach that, listen, when Harbaugh was mentioned, I couldn't even come up with a good second candidate. That's how superior he was. This to me was, and I'm not saying it is going to be as wildly successful as Andy Reid has been. Ironically, Andy, who was John's mentor and very close to him and talked to him during this process. I'm not saying they're going to be as wildly successful and, win 9 straight division titles and go to 5 Super Bowls and win 3. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Okay. What I'm saying is they are going to win, and they are going to win real soon. And eventually they're going to win big. And that is music to Giants fans' ears, because it has been a long time coming. And if you're a Giant fan right now, don't spend a minute worrying about, I got to get into now constructing the staff. Harbaugh doesn't need your help in constructing his staff. He knows what he's going to do. He knows who he wants to bring in. Now, the one thing is, when you have a transition, and this has been going on forever, when you bring anyone into New York, if they have families, if they have younger children or anything less than college level students, they have a huge sticker shock because when they try to get into the big school districts, I don't care if you're talking about New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut. If they try to do that, they see that the house that they gave up, wherever it is in America, is half of what it is here. And they need help. Some assistants actually even try to balk at coming because of that. But the good ones, they're going to give them that 300 or 400 grand they need to make the difference between the house they sold and the house they're going to buy to get them into the right neighborhood. Okay. That's a big adjustment. There's no question about that. You don't want to lose any good assistants. They won't lose a coordinator for that because the guy's going to make millions of dollars. They could lose a young assistant that way. That's why you don't want to lose them, because I'm sure there'll be some young assistants on the staff. I'm sure we all can right now name his offensive coordinator. I don't think anybody who knows anything about football needs two guesses. But he's going to have some new blood on that staff. I'm sure he will. He'd be crazy not to. Now, this is a special time, and we could all be cautious and wait. I don't think there's any issues to waiting. I think the Giants are just waiting to make the announcement. My understanding is it's done, so you don't have to worry about that. They got their guy. I think there were a couple of key factors. I think the biggest reason why he's here, you can thank Brian Dable, because he's here because the Giants have a quarterback. Harbaugh was his owner said it in Baltimore, and Harbaugh was not going to go anywhere where he was going to walk into a quarterback headache. He wanted to walk into a quarterback solution. He felt he had one in New York. He felt he had one in Tennessee. He liked Cam Ward. That's my understanding. Now, New York doesn't offer. You got crazies like me who always couldn't even think of not living here. It's just ingrained in me. But our lifestyle, our quality of life is not what it used to be in New York. Let's be honest. And a lot of people look down on it, and they look at places that have no state income tax and have beautiful neighborhoods, and younger neighborhoods, and safer neighborhoods, and better schools, and better roads, and better golf courses. Well, not better golf courses, because we have great golf courses. But the point is, New York is not the attraction it was 50 years ago. And those of us who still love it don't understand that, but it's true. So it becomes a little bit of a negative. You got to overcome it. A Nashville is a hot town. No state income tax, growing town, just like Austin's a hot town. Nashville's a hot town. Parts of Florida hot because there's no state income tax. You know what that saves you? If you're making $15 million a year, it's $1.5 million. Now, nobody sneezes at $1.5 million I got to give to the government. Right? He's going to make enough money. It's not an issue. And the Giant prestige with Dart is that compelling. Plus, I think the other big issue was he didn't want to be in the AFC. He didn't want to be in the same conference with Jim. I think they really both hoped they would not be in the same conference. And I think that was I think that was going to help Atlanta. That was going to help the Giants. If Atlanta had had a quarterback, they would have been a big threat. Tennessee was a big threat. Last night, I was told, hey, it's the Giants and it's Tennessee. And don't count Tennessee out. And then later on, you started hearing the rumblings. I saw something before I went to bed that they thought he pretty much had accepted. I don't know what moment he accepted. That I don't know. I do know this morning that he has agreed to a deal. Now, until it is, I've been through some contract negotiations pretty closely through the years. Until that thing is signed, you still, if you want to be a worrywart, be a worrywart. Until they have that press conference, And it's on the paper. You could be worried about because things can happen. I mean, it has happened in the past, but it's rare. It's rare. And I think he's this pretty stable guy, and I think he said yes, and I think that's over with. So this is a wonderful, joyous, really special day for the Giants, and it has been a long, long, long time coming. Really a long time coming. Tom Coughlin's been gone 12 years. During that time, this will be, if you don't count Spags when he filled in for McAdoo, this will be the Giants' 6th coach. Tom coached the 12 years before that. Now, Tom coached 12, which is long. Bill only coached 8 with the Giants, you know. They were a great 8, but they were 8. Tom coached 12. Bill won 2 Super Bowls. Tom won 2 Super Bowls. Bill had some better teams, but that's beside the point. Tom did great, and he had 2 of the great, really history-changing wins, especially the one against the undefeated team, which is a game that changed the history of the NFL. There's no question about it. And really changed the history of the NFL in a very, very big way. And he was very bitter, and he had a right to be. And those of us that thought, he's been there 3 years, 3 years in a row losing is long enough. It's time to go. We were wrong. I was wrong. I told him I was wrong. And the guys who made the decision were wrong. Because if they had kept Tom Coughlin, they would have had another run. They weren't that far away. You go back and look at that year, they were 5-4. And I remember they got hit with a rash of injuries and lost some really. I mean, I remember them losing a 27-26 game to the Pats. I remember them losing in overtime, I think, to Carolina. No, Carolina was a high-scoring game, but it wasn't overtime. Then they lost an overtime game. They lost some brutal games down the stretch and wound up losing 6 of their last 7 and going 6-10, and then Tom got the boot. And now we move on. So you have now the quarterback that you have thirsted for. You have now a head coach who is a legitimate Hall of Fame level head coach. That's it. He's a Hall of Fame level head coach. Those are very hard to find. They make a huge difference. He will come here and he will make an enormous difference in how this team is run, in how players are held accountable, in how the organization prepares for games and has the right roster and has the right people and doesn't ever feel like it doesn't have a clue what it's doing. You will not see any of that. And when you've lived through a storm of it, and in New York, we've been overrun with it, with the Jets and the Giants. And boy, is this a tough time for the Giants. The Giants have John Harbaugh and Jackson Dart, and the Jets have not a clue and not a quarterback. And there really isn't a quarterback behind Mendoza, and they don't have the number 1 pick. If they did, they'd have Mendoza, who was a lock number 1, and they don't have that. And the Oregon quarterback did the right thing because he did not play well down the stretch. I don't think he would have been anywhere near the second player picked. Now, maybe somebody wows him at the combines and winds up moving up and they take a young quarterback anyway. There's still a possibility, but this is not about the Jets today. This is about the Giants. So the long wait is over. For you Giant fans who have lived through, if you're old enough to have lived through one of the good periods, remember, they went to 5 Super Bowls and won 4 in a short period of time. if you look in the last 40 years, there are not a lot of franchises that have gone to the Super Bowl 5 times and won 4. Not a lot at all. The Giants are in the top 20% of the league with that because there's a lot of teams that haven't gone at all. And they've gone 5 times and won 4, including 3 major upsets. They were big underdog to the Pats, they were big underdog to the Bills, and they were underdog to the Pats. They were favored over the Broncos by 9.5 points when they won in Pasadena, and they were underdog by a field goal to the Ravens, who ran them out of the building with that defense. In what was an awful game in Tampa. Now you can start to think about division titles. You can start to think about with competing with the top of the division, and you can start thinking about playoff games and days of glory in the future. And let John put his staff together. He doesn't need your help. I don't think you'd have to tell him who he should make the defensive coordinator or the special teams coach, which is really his forte to begin with. Now, he goes very strong with the defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator because by nature, it is very rare he is a head coach who is a special teams coach. Those are very, very rare. Very few of those in history. Marv Levy was one. George Allen ran the defense and the special teams. He was another. He was a brilliant coach, George Allen. But very, very few coaches become head coaches from the special teams. Very few. And Harbaugh is one of those. So it gives you a very full look at your whole roster. You understand. You want to know why someone's getting dressed. When he's getting dressed as an extra running back or an extra wide receiver or an extra deep back. He's getting dressed because he will contribute to special teams. If he doesn't, he won't be getting dressed. And having the right guys, having the right kickers, having healthy kickers, having the right personnel, and having teams prepared and accountable is a huge head start. And they will have all that now. Now, you will see, I would think, the other pieces start to fall into place. When you take the Giants off, you have Arizona, you have Atlanta, you have Baltimore, you have Cleveland, Vegas, Miami, Pitt, and Tennessee. There's been rumors about Philly. I've heard them. I don't think if Philly could have made a big splash, like connected with Harbaugh or something, they might have made a change. Otherwise, I don't think they even considered it. I think you'll see guys move quickly. If LaFleur doesn't get a deal in Green Bay, if they can't agree on a new deal there, and he winds up being free, he will be free right to the door of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not saying he's leaving Green Bay. If he leaves Green Bay, watch for a beeline to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Notre Dame coach is not going to Pittsburgh, despite all the rumors that he is. He's not. He's staying at Notre Dame. Pittsburgh will be very, very definitive and very quick in how they do this. That's how they pick coaches. They obviously are very good at it. They've picked 3 in the last 60 years. The second team has picked 9. That would be the Minnesota Vikings. 9 is the second fewest. 3, Noel, Hall of Fame, 4 Super Bowl wins. Cowher, Hall of Fame, 1 Super Bowl win. Tomlin, does he make the Hall of Fame? 1 Super Bowl win. They all won the Super Bowl. They all stayed forever, and they're all quality. 2 are in the Hall of Fame, and 1 is a borderline Hall of Famer. They've picked the right guy every time. And remember, if you go back far enough, the Pittsburgh Steelers were the biggest doormats in the NFL for decades. Decades. the losingest team in the league for decades. If you go back that far. Now you're going back a long way. But they haven't been that way since the days of Chuck Noll. I'm not going to predict who's going where. You know certain guys are going to get jobs. I told you about guys that I don't think should get jobs. If Salah gets a job, and there's a lot of talk about him going here, there, and everywhere, I think he'll fail again. I think he's I've seen him up close and personal. He's a defensive coordinator. He's not a head coach. Some guys are, some guys aren't. I've been through the list with you a million times. Okay, Salah's a defensive coordinator. He is not a head coach. He might get a job because what's going on with San Francisco, plus people like him. He will fail. Just like, I hate to say it, but if Spags got a job as a head coach, I think he would not be successful. And I think he is one of the great defensive coordinators in the history of the sport. Some guys are right for certain jobs. It's not a knock, it's just a fact. And they need to live it and own up to it, but they can't because of the aspirations they all have to be head coaches. And I understand that that's the dream. You want the power, you want the glory, you want the money, you want the whole thing. I understand that. You want it to be your shop. You want to be the number one guy. Everyone wants to be the number one guy in every profession there is. That's just the way it is. If you're an actor, you want to win the Academy Award. If you're a talk show host, you want to do drive time. If you're, whatever you may be. I understand the aspirations, but it doesn't mean you're the right guy all the time. Some people are, some people aren't. Salah's not a head coach. It'll be very interesting to see how this unfolds now, but the Giants don't have to worry about it anymore. They got their guy. So you can get off the Mara's backs. You can get off the front office's back. You can just take all the negativity and let it flow because it's over. It's over. Better days are coming. Winning days are coming, and big winning days are coming right after that. Now, for a lot of people, divisional playoff weekend is the number one weekend of the year. You crown it with the Indiana-Miami game, which will come the national championship game. We'll see if Miami can continue to pound people, even though they'll play. Indiana can continue to pound people, even though they'll play a Miami team that's a lot bigger than them in Miami. So we'll see how that unfolds. I still think Indiana is too good, but we'll get to that on Monday. Now, weather's going to be an issue this weekend. It's going to be cold. I want to update because yesterday's forecast for Chicago for Sunday at 6:30 was so dire. I was like, whoa. Now, I don't know if Caleb Williams, how much he's played in cold weather, but we know guys who haven't. Now, Sunday, here you go. The temperature is going to be single digits at game time. The wind chill is going to be somewhere around 10 below zero. Below zero at game time. The temperature somewhere around 6 or 7 degrees at game time. I don't know how much the wind's going to blow, but the wind blows in Chicago a lot. So it's going to be fascinating to see how big a factor it is for the Rams, a warm weather team, and the Bears in what should be a classic game. Now, as far as Foxborough at 3:00 that day, all right, let's see what the forecast is because those are two defensive teams that are going to be aided by the weather. On Sunday, all right, there's going to be a 75% chance of a wintry mix The wind chill will make it feel like it's somewhere between 15 and 20 degrees with a wintry mix and some wind. So it's not intolerable, but it's going to be another factor, and the defenses there are going to dominate from what we've seen anyway, as the Pats and Houston will pound on each other and pound on their respective quarterbacks to see which one can get an edge when they play. Now, you start Saturday off with the Bills and the Broncos. The Broncos have slid now to where they are favored. Okay, that now they were underdog, but depends where you are. Now we still have Bills minus a half point. Half point. I've seen it as high as Denver won. I've seen it as high as Bills won. Figure it's right around that pendulum swinging back and forth. Bills are banged up. They got a lot of injuries. They got injuries to their very limited wide receiver staff, and they can't count on Coleman anyway. Josh Allen isn't healthy, but he's like Superman, so you don't worry about it. Can Josh Allen lead his team to another victory? Or is this Denver team, which will be driven, fanatically driven by Sean? Sean will have his team ready mentally. He will have his team ready physically. He will have some tricks in his bag, and he will be very aggressive in the game. You can count on every one of those. He comes to win. It's going to be a great game. Saturday, early. I'm favoring the Bills only because I figure it's a tight game late. Do I want a young quarterback or do I want Josh Allen in his prime? I want Josh Allen in his prime. Last week, we got that. Now, the interception late by Trevor was not his fault. He hit the guy in the hands. The ball popped up in the air and got intercepted. It was not his fault. He played well, I thought, in the game. He didn't play well in the first half. He played really well in the second half. He took the lead twice in the fourth quarter in a playoff game. That's all you can ask your quarterback to do. If he could drive you to the lead twice in the fourth quarter, he's done his job. The defense couldn't do its job. A 10-yard, tush push that went from the 10 to the 1 was hard to take. Niners still banged up on defense. Now they lose Kittle on offense. Get the Seahawks, who were rested, who ran them out of the building a couple weeks ago, who have obviously a passing attack. Now, Sam can make mistakes, but he also is not afraid to make plays. He's got a great possession receiver, maybe the best possession receiver this side of Nakua. Seattle is a whopping 7-point favorite against the Niners. I could see the Niners getting a backdoor cover and losing by 3. I think Seattle's going to win, but I think I would take the points with, just like I took the Niners last week with the points against the Eagles. I would take them again here. But I think Seattle's going to win. Texans and Pats. I'm surprised the Pats are 3-point favorites. I think it's too steep. I think the Texan defense is by far the best in the league. They do not have to blitz to get a great pass rush. They have 2 great edge rushes. They have a tackle who made some big plays last week. They have a terrific secondary. They're good on all 3 levels. Now, they don't have Nico Collins. He got taken off the field with a concussion, and it's unlikely he's going to play. They're going to miss him. They're going to need Kirk to be really good like he was last week. Hadn't had more than 54 yards in a game this year. He got 144 in the game and was a big playmaker. I think the Texans, with their experience, I did not like some of the things I saw from the Pats last week in what was an ugly game against the Chargers. I think the Texans are going to win. And then the Rams and the Bears. And I'm telling you, you have the MVP against the Magic Man. And there's nothing else. There's no other way to describe Williams anymore. He's the Magic Man. In the fourth quarter, he just goes absolutely crazy. He made some plays in that fourth quarter. He made some throws that were legendary. They were so good. He made some plays that I'm sitting there saying, are you kidding me? They were a force in the fourth quarter of that game. They put up over 300 yards on the Green Bay Packers in the second half. They weren't good in the first other than the first drive in the first half, they weren't good. And Ben Johnson tries to be way too cute. First of all, he's unlikable, but second, he tries to be way too cute. Don't outsmart yourself in these games. There's a time to take 3 points. There's a time not to try a trick play. Stick to the basics and execute. You're pounding the ball down their throat. Keep pounding it. Don't go to a trick play. That doesn't work. Don't throw an interception on a play action when you're running the ball at 4th and 1 down their throat. He has outsmarted himself on numerous occasions, but he has that young team playing great. And they own the fourth quarter. And the Rams have had a habit of really giving up leads, and this is the wrong team you want to play in the fourth quarter when you have a lead because, man, they will come take it from you, which we have seen them do on so many occasions this year. It's almost crazy. Stafford's going to make plays. Nakua is the best receiver in the world. Best. Adams is terrific in the red zone. They're tight ends, and they use a lot of them. They use a lot of 12. They use a lot of 13 formation. He likes to use those tight ends. The Rams have a real weakness on special teams. They fired the special teams coach. They turned around and got a punt block last week. You can't get punts blocked in the playoffs and survive. You can't do it. If you're a coach, first thing you're thinking about when the game's over is, I cannot believe I got a punt block. That cost me the game. It could have cost them the game. They had to come back and take the lead with 32 seconds left on a great catch by the tight end. That's going to be I can't wait for that game. I can't wait for the Bills and Broncos. I tell you, the game I like the least is Niners Seahawks because I've seen it before. I even like to see what the defenses do with the Texans and the Pats against the young quarterbacks. I think they're going to beat them up pretty good. And then the Rams and the Rams and the Bears is must watch television. That could be as good as it gets. And Josh Allen got his win on the road, and now can he take the team 2 more times and drive them to a Super Bowl, to the golden place that he has thrived for and thirsted for year after year after year? Can he finally get there this year? He's the quarterback. He's the star. Stafford's number 2, and he's an MVP this year, but the only one who's that immortal quarterback, there's no Lamar Jackson here. There's no Mahomes here. There's no even Burrow here. Stafford's really good, but he's not on Josh Allen's level. Nobody here is. Nobody here is. And that's why can he take a team that has plenty of holes? I mean, last week, they were all out to win. Jacksonville gave them fits. That was a great game. More lead changes in the fourth quarter than any game ever. It's a busy time, boy, I tell you. You got all these coaching. So now if you're a fan of Arizona, Atlanta, Baltimore, Cleveland, Vegas, Miami, Pitt, Tennessee, you wait to see, what do I get? Okay, the Giants get Harbaugh. What do I get? And they're going to move quick now. Once the dam breaks, and it did, because everybody was dreaming about Harbaugh. Not everybody thought they had a chance to get him, but everyone was dreaming about him. And the owner told you down in Baltimore the other day, hey, he will not consider a team that does not have a quarterback solution. So you knew what teams you had to rule out there. And then you had Jim say, we don't want to coach in the same conference. So that put the NFC teams at the top of the list. And that's why the Giants wind up, because they have the quarterback, they have the history, and they're in the NFC. So now the Giants have the coach. Now, as far as baseball, we're waiting to see, and that will start to move things also. The Met offer to Tucker is now to 200. I wondered if it would go to 5 years and 250 to make sure they got him. I think the Mets have to get him now. They dip their toe in the water. They can't lose him for money. They've identified him as a player they want. Is he a perfect fit? No, he plays the same position as Soto, which has got to change. And he misses games. But he is a very big offensive player and could have major impact. Now they still have to balance off this roster. They still have to get themselves a right-handed hitter. Hey, but if they have Tucker and Soto, they have, and Lindor, they got 3 really big offensive players. They need this player. I can't see them losing him for 1 year. They went from 3 years, 150 to 4 years, 200. Do they go to 5, 250? I would think they do if they need to get him. I don't know who's in. A lot of people say the Dodgers, but they say the Dodgers on everybody. So we'll see how that unfolds in the next couple of days. Are the Yankees back in on Bellinger? What about all the other guys who are still out there? Baseball takes a lot of time. They do this very, very slowly. And the Yankees and the Mets have been puzzlingly slow this year. So we'll see how that sprinkles into the things right now. So it's a very, very busy time. Then, of course, the National Championship on Monday night. We'll give you that. We'll bring you the Francesa 5 in just a couple of minutes. So enjoy what should be a terrific football weekend. And for Giant fans, hey, you've had a lot of miserable days. Enjoy this one. Enjoy this one. Take the time to enjoy this one. It's a game changer. We'll see you later.